You better not shout, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town.
Merry Christmas! Today we're going to talk about
Saint Nick.
Let's reflect.
Sunum bonum, peace be with you.
Hello everyone, and today we're going to talk about St. Nicholas, the real St. Nicholas, the real Santa Claus. So, alright.
Alright, so we'll start by talking about Saint Nick, also known as Santa Claus in our modern understanding. So the idea of Santa Claus came from Saint Nick, who was a bishop, and we can talk about when he was born, where he was born, what area of the world. So Ray, you can.
So first we have to look at, St. Nicholas comes from Turkey. Now you're probably wondering, Turkey, that's like the Middle East. But so many of these countries, back in St. Nicholas's time period, which is the 2nd century, were all Christian areas. They were completely Christian. Now, we got to remember, the Apostle Paul was preaching at Myra, okay?
Which is where Saint Nick was born, of Myra.
Correct.
Yeah.
From a very wealthy Christian family. Now, they think that St. Nick's parents died from the plague, but they gave him money. Now, this is a very important fact. St. Nick, before he became a priest, before even a bishop, he's a young man, and one of the things for St. Nicholas is he's against children trafficking, sex trafficking. Back then in the day, if you had a daughter and you couldn't pay for the dowry, your daughter would go into prostitution. Well, St. Nick finds out that there's a family where it's this father who has 3 daughters who, you said lost a wife, which I'm pretty sure you're right, because in my notes it said
I think so, yeah.
And, you know, he doesn't know what to do. Well, St. Nick, having his wealth, the first daughter's ready to get married, in the middle of the night throws golden coins through the window. The father's celebrating. Oh my God, I can pay for a dowry. A couple years later, second daughter. Now, after this, the father is now staying up very late at night trying to figure out who's the one giving this money. The third daughter, he ends up catching St. Nick. Now, kind of the important thing is, I think, what we can learn from is, A, what's Christmas about? The gift giving. This is the story where it comes to the gift giving.
Alms giving, but helping the poor, yep.
He also gave all his money away. Which, you know, there's so many people obsessed with greed. Money is what their self-worth is. Money gives them value. Money is who they are. They're buying a sports car. St. Nick gave it all away. And he gave it through
And in secret, too. He did it at night. So that's the humble. So St. Nick was so humble and he didn't want to publicly also humiliate the father. Like, look at me giving you these alms. Like, he did it in private, in secret, because he didn't want the fame. He didn't want the recognition. So the humbleness is also a attribute of Saint Nick.
That's actually, thank God you brought that up, because that's an excellent point where, again, it's showing the act of love and not receiving anything from it. You know, and it goes to Jesus on the cross.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, you know.
It all ties back into that.
You know, so that's the first thing. Then, the Roman Empire is against Christians. At this time. Now, he's a bishop now. And they studied his skull, and they found that his nose was broken. We know today that he was held in prison by the Roman army. He never gave in to giving up Jesus. He always stayed with Christ.
He's going to be a martyr. He was on that trajectory to be a martyr.
So we found in his bone structures, you know, he was beaten when he was in the prisons. Then Constantine becomes the emperor, and now everything changes.
Christianity is legal now.
Correct.
And it's a miracle because, like we said, St. Nick was in prison. He was set to be put to death as a Christian, and Constantine legalized Christianity at that time, and he was free. So quite a miracle there with St. Nick's story there as well.
And what was the other thing I wanted to point out? Okay, so then Constantine calls a council together.
Yes.
The Nicene Council.
It's a very famous Council of Nicaea.
Okay. Now, there is a guy named Arius. He's a bishop in Alexander, Egypt. And he's claiming, one of the claims is that Jesus is not the Son of God. Again, messing around with the Trinity.
The Trinitarian understanding.
And, talking bad about the blessed.
Yeah, our blessed Holy Mother.
And don't you talk about our blessed mother like that. Anyway, so what happens? So he says these statements in the council, and
it is said that Santa Claus gets up and either slaps or punches Arius across the face.
Wait, I gotta go the other way. Hit me the other way. Oh, okay, that way, that's fine.
He slaps Arius across the face. Don't you talk about my mother that way.
Now, there's no historical evidence of this.
Yeah, this is
what I found, which made Thomas really excited, was you can Google yourselves right now. There were multiple councils in which not only
there was physical violence,
like a slap went on, there were full-on fist fights, and the Roman soldiers would have to break them up. So is the possibility of Saint Nick doing this? Yeah, it's pretty strong. And like I said, you can Google it. All the other councils, like people got
fights going on.
People got violent.
Yeah.
The other story about bilocating Saint Nick.
And the sailors,
there were a group of sailors, going across the sea, and they were headed in the direction of Myra, and it was a bad storm. And back then in those wooden boats, they could tip. It's over with for these people. And they're praying, and they claim that some figure of a man came down and calmed the storm. So they get to Myra, and they're walking around, and they see this bishop, and that's the same exact bishop that the human being that they saw bilocate, which is going into the Padre Pio. This is another saint that we're learning about that bilocates, like a force goes. Ba-da-dum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And that's why he's known as a patron saint, not just of children, because a lot of people know him for the gift giving. That's
correct, against sex trafficking.
Against sex trafficking, yeah. So he's a patron saint of children. He's a patron saint of sailors and merchants, people who travel along the sea for merchant. So he's a patron. That story ties into that. He's also the patron saint, it's said, of unmarried people, which ties into the father of the three daughters not having a wife as well. So that's, like you said, he's the patron saint of unmarried people in that regard. So he's been known for many different things, not just the gift giving, not just his charity and modern idea of Santa Claus. So it's pretty remarkable when you read into it, how also Christ-like he was too, going back to the point of him gift giving and being charitable out of humility, not expecting anything in return.
Willing to take a beating.
And again, he didn't have to do this. He came from a rich, yes, his parents died when he was young from sickness, but he inherited all these riches from his family. He could have been kind of like a Pharisee, like a high priest, and just not really been charitable like that, but he chose not only to be charitable, but to do it in humble humility. So that's pretty spectacular.
And one thing to go back in the Council of Nicaea, if you're a Catholic or you're Orthodox, he was there when the Nicene Creed was created.
Being formulated, yeah.
Like, yes, when we're talking about the slap and everything, the arguments, like he was there, the creed that, it was just the anniversary, it's 1700 years old, this creed. And St. Nicholas was there. So, I think you're also going at the point is Santa Claus is bigger than what us Americans are viewing
understand it in the modern day,
and how important he was to not only gift giving but Christianity as a whole. And probably, we could keep going, but just to kind of finish, okay, so where is his body? So his body was originally buried in Turkey, but due to other religions that weren't so tolerant of Christianity later on, I'm talking specifically 11th century, his body was moved to Italy, where you can go and still see it today. Yep. And they did I could see if I could get a picture for this video, I'll try, of what St. Nicholas actually looked like, because they took his bone structures and studied it.
Yeah.
And it's actually pretty close to what we see right here with the white beard and everything.
Yeah.
So that's what ends up happening to his body.
Also, fun fact, it is said that when St. Nick was going to this father and throwing the coins in the window or sneaking in and leaving the coins in the house, that he wore kind of like a hood looking thing with like a point, and that's where the Santa Claus hat actually comes from.
Really?
Yeah, for anonymity. I read into that. So it's also said that, and there's some different claims about this, like the modern Christmas tree kind of comes from Germany, and these are like the fruit, like the forbidden fruit almost. That's what these ornaments are. But there is Orthodox artwork of Saint Nick going about his business in Asia Minor, and in that area there were cypress trees that kind of looked like Christmas trees almost in that area, and that's another theory of where the Christmas tree comes from.
Interesting. I mean, it's
Yeah.
even like, do you know the candy cane?
Yeah,
You
talk
flip
about
it, it's
that.
a J for Jesus.
Talk about
The
that.
red represents his blood, the white, it's super Christian.
Yeah,
I mean, we try to become so secular trying to leave it out.
It's all part of that. All of this comes from somewhere. It doesn't just come from nothing. These traditions and these beliefs, yes, they evolve as we go down the line, as we go through time. And Santa Claus, the modern red Santa Claus is kind of the Coca-Cola. That's what people say. It's Coca-Cola marketing. But it all comes from somewhere, like the gift giving and Saint Nick and Santa Claus. It all comes from somewhere. There's some historical origin of everything that we do. So.
Yeah, and I think in the end of the day, I guess the most important thing is what we're learning from the videos, who the real Saint Nick is.
Right.
And that, yes, it's okay to do the Americanized Santa Claus, but, teach your kids or teach others that who the real Saint Nick was and what did he do.
Yeah.
And, and you could still pray to him today. I mean, right now there's more slavery in the world than there was in the Civil War. And what is it? Sex trafficking. All over the world. And it's mostly children in the sex trafficking.
Sadly, yeah.
I think we need Saint Nick more. I think people need to pray to him more, honestly. So.
Good. I think that's a good place to
it.
leave out. Yeah. Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Peace be with you.